Good afternoon, everybody, and it's time for us to begin our Rotary meeting today. So if everyone could stand up and meet and greet your neighbors at your table, and we'll begin this pretty quickly. The cars are here. Any idea what the number is? Okay, everyone, let's get the show on the road. If we all take a seat, and we're going to have our invocation. John Brown's at least an invocation and the national anthem, but everyone, I wanted to bring everyone up to speed. If you're everyone, I want to bring everyone up to speed with Alan Wynn. What I can say, he needs your prayers. I've been speaking with his brother this week, and Alan. There was complications due to the surgery. He had heart surgery, as we all know. It's been like 3 weeks now. But he will most likely be on dialysis the rest of his life. They may have to do a kidney transplant. He has brothers, but he is in intensive care. He's still on a tracheotomy. He is taking visitors, but they will be probably moving him to an off-site rehab location, which we don't know yet. But it's not good. So if we could just keep him in his prayers. And he's going to need the support of everyone that he can get, because unless something does change miraculously, as we understand, and again, I'm not a doctor, but I'm only hearing from his brother what's going on, but just keep him in your prayers, please. And now, John, you can come up here and lead us in invocation.
Thank you. Do we have any concerns? It's amazing. That's great. Let us pray. Almighty God, we give you thanks for the blessings you have poured upon us. Help us always to remember how fortunate we are to have a loving family, loyal friends, and to live in this great country we call home. Remind us of our responsibilities to serve others in ways that will please you through Rotary and through the many other opportunities of service you provide. Forgive us when we have failed you. Free us for joyful obedience. Strengthen those whose grief or illness need the support of your unmeasurable sustaining love. And celebrate with us in all our joys, for we know they come from you. Amen. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose cross stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, John. And now let's see if we have any requests for happy bucks. I mean, who has a happy buck? Anybody? And if we do, who's going to lead us? Whoa. Happy bucks. Anyone with happy bucks? Anyone? Anyone? No happy bucks. Okay. Any concerns anyone has? If anybody, anything? Okay. Guest. I know we have a few guests here in the room. There you go. Oh. Oh, excuse me.
Well, this is a guest of mine. I think he's been here before, so some of you may recognize my oldest son, Sam. He's here with us, and so it's also a kind of a happy buck. I mean, he's had a great, no, I mean that he's here, but he's also going back to college next week, so we'll be driving to College Station and getting him set for his sophomore year at A&M.
Hey, all right, good deal.
I would like to introduce to my good friend Fabian Moro, who's a CPA here in North Dallas. We've been working together for so long, and we were so friends for so long that I wanted to go ahead and bring him here to the club so he can enjoy as well our friendship. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. I'd like to introduce my guest, Yasmin Simon. She's running for Texas House on the Democratic side against Morgan Meyer. Cool. So please welcome Yasmin and her husband, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Nate.
Any others?
Anyone else? Okay.
Okay, and Greg Pape. Discuss the Rotary Foundation.
Thank you, President Jeff. Update on our Rotary Foundation, and while I'm saying a few words. Ruth, if you could come up and join me on the podium. Boy, we're like a rocket ship this year. Fiscal year began July 1, and we're moving real close to $13,000 in contributions to the Rotary International Foundation. Thank you all very much. Thank you. When giving to the foundation, there's a number of ways, many ways. We won't cover all of them, but today we're going to talk about disasters, because the world and our country's got plenty of those, right? Districts that themselves become part of a natural disaster can use a Rotary Disaster Response grant to launch their own projects or work with established relief organizations to help their communities recover. Grant funds can be used to provide basic items such as food, water, medicine, and clothing. So that's item one with disaster response grants. Then we as Rotarians can give to the Disaster Response Fund. And the Rotary International Foundation and its Board of Trustees distributes that general fund where it's needed throughout the world. And yet there's another way you can apply yourself as a Rotarian in contributing resources to the disaster area. And that is through the Pakistan Flood Response Fund or the Ukraine Response Fund. And Ruth has been very meticulous about how she wants to give to the Rotary Foundation. And in the last 3 or 4 years, ballpark, she has been focusing specifically in this arena. She's been a member of RCPC since 2002. And Ruth is all about making a human connection and has demonstrated this repeatedly, devoting herself to community involvement and volunteering. Ruth is engaged in a wide variety of activities, from Meals on Wheels to reading to kids in elementary school and mentoring high school students. And with her legal background, she's also volunteered her legal skills by reviewing cases for the League of Women Voters in Texas. On the Rotary Foundation front, Ruth has contributed prodigiously with the Rotary International Foundation, donating her resources to the Disaster Response Fund in Ukraine. And to show her efforts, her sustaining contribution level, she's got this beautiful Rotary Paul Harris pin with 3 rubies in it, hitting a 9th level contribution level. Let's give a hand to Ruth Al-Ali.
You're welcome, Ruth. You deserve it. You're awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Oops. You need this.
I need that. Thanks, Greg. Now we will have Mark KASHAR come up and speak about our marketplace advertiser.
Thank you, Jeff. Before we get to today's advertiser, if you look at the back of your hub, you can see our awesome sponsors and advertisers. There are spots available. If you'd like to have a spot on the back of the hub, you can talk to Mark Neese or me. We can get you taken care of. And thank you to Jason Graves for his recent ad. You can see his ad. We'll be spotlighting his business here pretty soon, so thank you for that. So today's advertiser is David Goodson with RLG Consulting Engineers, and they provide civil engineering, structural engineering, surveying, and forensic services to clients across Texas and the U.S. Over the past 70 years, they have worked on numerous iconic DFW projects that you may not know. Those include North Park, Dallas Arboretum, St. Mark's, Hockaday, Green Hill, and numerous projects for SMU, Highland Park Schools, Baylor Scott and White, and Texas Health Presbyterian Hospitals. Their recent projects include the new sports complex at SMU's Ford Stadium, the administration building for Baylor Scott and White, AT&T Discovery Plaza downtown, and renovations to the SMU Cox Business School, and redevelopment of the old Weir's Furniture Store site, which is now a 12-story mixed-use office retail complex. RLG staff includes over 30 professional engineers and surveyors and over 70 total employees with offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Sherman, and Peoria, Illinois. Club member David Goodson retired after 38 years at the firm at the end of 2019, was succeeded as CEO by former RCPC member Stuart Markison. We need to get him back. Stuart represents the third generation of Park City's Rotary leadership at the company that Ray Goodson, a past president of the club, founded in 1953. So let's thank David Goodson for his sponsorship.
Thank you, Mark. And now I'd like to call on Sergio to discuss our PCR Connect.
Thank you, President Jeff. Hi, everyone. Michelle Brown and myself, we are participating on the PCR Connect from now on. So we got together, and we decided it's going to be the last Thursday of every month. So this coming August 31st, Thursday from 5 to 7, we would like to invite you all and your friends so we can go ahead and get together, so we can go ahead and exchange business cards, so we can talk about some business, get to know each other's background, find the common ground, and try to go ahead and work together. The whole point of this is trying to strengthen ourselves and the community of the club. So if you have any questions in regards to that, please let me know. The place is going to be in Meseros, which is here in Lovers Lane, Inwood Village. I'm going to go ahead and talk to Happy so she can go ahead and send all the information. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm looking forward to talking to anyone that have that time to go to on Thursday 31st to the restaurant. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. And now I'm going to ask Jill Jordan to come up and answer the question if you've seen some ELVI here in the room. Jill.
So I'm always learning new things. The plural of Elvis is ELVI. And I had to explain that to the newspaper, the Park Cities People, when these folks won the award. And I'm like, yes, it really is ELVI. So anyway, this is the last time I'm going to be talking to you all about the 2023 4th of July Parade. This is our last deal, and what our deal today is, we always have a contest for the best float winner. And this year, the winner of the contest is the crew of the Rolling ELVI. Now, in real life, this is Will Howard. He is Martin Gill behind me. I asked them a little bit about the organization because they've been participating in the parade really for as long as I've been in the club, so 2018. Actually, they started the parade about 2014. They are a group of Highland Park and University Park families. So you have the Elvises and you have ELVI, and the Priscillas, and they participate in our parade. Now, if you've seen the parade, you've seen them and you know how fun they are, because every year it's slightly different. They can be on scooters. This year there was a scooter and a motorcycle and a truck and a trailer with all the Priscillas in it. And one of the really nice things about this group is that they very much engage with the crowd. So I was looking at pictures, because we take pictures of the participants in the parade. And there they are, talking to people. A little girl ran out into the street, and, she's greeting them. And so it's just a really fun group. And we are delighted that they are a continuing participant in the parade. And as such, they are getting our Patriots Trophy Award. Uh-oh, you got to pick up the bass, Jeff. Yeah. Wow. There you go. And Jeff, come on up. So this trophy is theirs to keep for the year, and then I'll collect it back from them, and it'll move on to the next group next year. But thank you all, ELVI, for participating in the parade. Is there anything you want to say?
Absolutely. You give us the microphone? Yeah. Okay. All right, buckle in. First of all, the Priscillas wish that they could have been here, but they've got their usual Friday hair appointment at the beauty shop. So Sorry that they're not here. But as Jill mentioned, we've been doing this for 10 years. We're obviously not from here originally. We're from South Mississippi and came through Memphis, but we've been here for about 10 years. And you know, the thing that's really great about the parade is it really is a sense of community, right? And so we feel really, really part of this community to do this every year, and it's a great joy for us. And so thank you for the Rotary Club for sponsoring it. It really has become our Graceland to go and do. And so just thank you for all your support. Thank you for this recognition.
Thank you, ELVI. That's great. And a few announcements you've probably seen in the emails that we've been sending out, but the Murder Mystery event is coming up on Saturday, August 19th at the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown. And then following that on the 26th, we have our District Awards event. That's at the Haggerty Farm in Plano. So again, you can go online to either register or pay for these. And then on the September 1st, there is no meeting for Labor Day. And then on the 30th of September, we are doing our foot care clinic. And so I know that Holly Hollenbeck had reached out to everyone here, and you're probably seeing emails too, but if you have a heart to want to volunteer for that event, please let us know and let Holly know. But that is a great event, and we will be doing this continuously going forward because it's such a very, it benefits so many people. And now we're going to draw, hopefully the winning ticket. So Robert Kent, our speaker, just pick a number, and then we will.
All right, let's see here.
And what's the last four numbers?
4314. 4314.
Ruth, you're a winner today. Oh, hold on. Got to audit this. Oh, I see it. Yeah. Okay. Again, the ace of spades has to be drawn for her to win half the pot, which, as I understand from Lee, is about $1,802, something like that. Four of spades. That's your guys. Odds are getting better. And so now we're going to have Walt Markin come up and present our speaker today.
It's my honor to introduce our speaker, Robert Kent. Now, Robert and I go back. Longer than I care to admit. We both were in diapers at Highland Park Methodist Church back in the 1990s. Okay. Prepare to feel like you're an underachiever. Okay. Robert Kent is the Texas State Director of the Trust for Public Land, where he leads a team of colleagues and volunteers working to make health, climate, equity, and community benefits of parks and natures accessible to all. Since joining the organization in 2014, he has led the organization's work to develop a network of parks and trails across southern Dallas, helped pass a $310 million bond package to develop trails in Dallas, developed an open space for the city of Fort Worth, opened public schoolyards in Dallas for use as neighborhood parks, acquired hundreds of acres of land for new parks throughout Texas, connecting community members, shareholders, and donors to realize a shared vision for parks and public spaces that benefit all. Prior to working in the Trust for Public Land, Robert served as a policy director for the North Texas Commission. Robert received his BA from Baylor. How many Baylor people here? Okay. We studied economics and environmental science. Got his Master of Science from the University of Glasgow. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Where he studied international economic development. Now, brace yourselves. In 2009, Robert completed a 2,100-mile southbound through hike of the Appalachian Trail, to be followed by a coast-to-coast hike across Scotland in 2011. Born and raised in Dallas, Robert is passionate about using close-to-home nature to build green, resilient cities. Robert and his family live in Dallas, and their favorite park is near White Rock Lake. Now, more importantly for us, Robert is a Rotary Foundation Ambassador Scholar of 2011 to Glasgow. So your dollars have been well served. Robert, welcome.
Well, good afternoon. Come on, good afternoon. There we go, yeah. It's great to be back with Rotary. As Walt said, he confirmed me longer ago than I care to admit at Highland Park United Methodist, and still cross paths with him frequently, and it's great to be here with such a friendly group. In 2011, I was a recipient of a Rotary Foundation Ambassadorial Scholarship that sent me to Glasgow, Scotland to get my master's. And as part of that, I did a lot of work with Rotary clubs across Scotland, got to do presentations to many Rotary clubs, very fond memories, and part of what I did was that coast-to-coast hike across Scotland that I used to raise money for End Polio Now, which is, of course, a huge initiative of the Rotary Foundation. So I really admire the work that Rotary does, the work that you're doing here in Dallas as well. I think it's just wonderful. Today, I'm here to talk about my work with Trust for Public Land and why we believe that everyone should have a safe, close-to-home, quality place to get outdoors and enjoy nature. So I like to start all my presentations with just a quick show of hands. Let's say you woke up tomorrow morning and your car didn't work and you didn't have a bicycle, you couldn't get on the bus, and you had to get around town the old-fashioned way on your own 2 feet. Just show of hands, where could you walk in 10 minutes or less? To a grocery store? Okay. What about to a restaurant or a cafe? Good, good. What about to a church or synagogue or house of worship? All right. To your workplace? No, okay. Could anyone walk here? And what about to a park? That's good. Well, I work for this fine organization called Trust for Public Land, and we are on a mission to connect everyone to the outdoors. We know that when people have safe, close-to-home places to get outside, they're happier, they're healthier, they're more connected to nature, they're more connected to each other. And we want to make sure that everyone across America is able to enjoy a great place to get outside close to where they live. Since our founding in 1972, we have helped to create over 5,000 parks across the country. We have generated over $84 billion in funding for parks and conservation, including that $311 million bond package that Dallas passed in 2017 for parks. And we've helped protect over 3.7 million acres of land for parks, national forests, state parks, national parks, and on. There are about 9 million people that live within a 10-minute walk of a park that Trust for Public Land has created. We've been very active here in Texas as well. Since 1979, we've helped create over 43,000 acres of parks across the state. Some of the work that we're really proud of includes the Joppy Preserve in southern Dallas, Barton Creek Greenbelt in Austin, Palo Duro Canyon State Park up in the Panhandle, South Oak Cliff Renaissance Park in southern Dallas by South Oak Cliff High School. And just a few months ago, the 283-acre Big Cedar Wilderness, also in far southwest Dallas, the newest park to be added to the Dallas Park Department system. So let's talk a little bit about where Dallas is right now. I think we know there's a booming economy, there is growing population, and it feels like our region of DFW is on the cusp of a new era in its history. With optimism, with collaboration, we're doing amazing things, like building parks on top of freeways. But there are still challenges that remain. Whether it's questions about, do we have enough water? I know my lawn is certainly looking thirsty these days. I bet yours is as well. Or sometimes, like this time last year, when we had 12 inches of rain fall in one day, and there's just too much water happening all at once. What about regional mobility, getting around town, traffic? How can we be healthier? And of course, these questions of economic inequality, and is the economy working for everybody? The idea that I want to leave with you today is that our parks, our trails, and our other green assets can help solve some of these big economic, social, and environmental challenges. I'm going to give you an example. So this is a picture of the 606 in Chicago. It is the nation's longest elevated rail-to-trail, hiking, biking, strollering, running, Pokemon-going outdoor space in the country. It opened in Chicago in 2016 by some of my colleagues at the Trust for Public Land. And this is what it looked like before we got started. An abandoned rail line, a relic of industrial Chicago that the neighborhood had turned its back on. But community members had a different vision for what it could be. And they reached out to my colleagues at Trust for Public Land and said, what if we took this rail line and turned it into a transformative park? And this is what it looks like today. An incredible green space in the middle of Chicago, one of the most beautiful parks in all of America, and it benefits countless people every single day. We like to call the trail a living work of art because we have art installed all along it, like this visual display you see here, but also even in the landscaping as well, beautiful landscaping along the way. The trail runs east to west across the city. In this map, you can see it connects through a number of neighborhoods in the heart of Chicago. There's about 65,000 people that live within a 10-minute walk of where this trail is. It connects to retail destinations, it connects to residential communities, it connects to schools, it connects to important destinations that people want to get to. It even connects to other parks. So you can see how this trail is actually a part of how the city of Chicago solves its mobility challenges getting around town, moving all those people around. A little closer to home is the Santa Fe Trail, which is over near where I live in East Dallas. Again, a former rail line that the city of Dallas turned into a hiking and biking trail. I'm out there probably once a week getting to get outside, get out to White Rock Lake. And here's a map showing where that trail runs through, and about 20,000 people live within a 10-minute walk of that trail. This runs through a neighborhood of Dallas that is not as economically prosperous as other parts of the city. A lot of folks don't have the same easy access to an automobile that maybe all of us took to get here today. So you can see how having a safe place to walk and get around town could actually help solve one of those key transportation challenges that everyone has to deal with when living in a city. And so the trail helps meet that need. We think about other benefits that parks can provide. We know that when you have a park nearby home, it helps keep the neighborhood cooler, up to 6 degrees cooler. And I think in this heat wave we're feeling right now, the difference between 94 degrees and 100 degrees, that's a huge gap. And we know that neighborhoods that have adequate park space are 6 degrees cooler than neighborhoods that don't. We know that parks help improve community health. There's research that shows if you have a safe, quality place to get outside and exercise, guess what? You use it. And we've tracked physical activity levels. We found that neighborhoods that have high-quality green space serving them are up to 50% more physically active than neighborhoods that don't. And we know that parks can also help solve some of our water issues. Parks act as a filter, so we have those big rainfall events. All that vegetation in the park can actually soak up that rainwater, filter it, and make it cleaner. So the water coming into our creeks, our streams, and our rivers is cleaner after it goes through the park. So parks are one of the best things that a city can do to help solve some big issues that every city has to deal with. Finally, let's talk about the economic impact of parks. So if you've been around Dallas for the last several years, you know we've gone through a bit of a park renaissance here. I really pinpoint that start to Clyde Warren Park. And if you look at that area around Clyde Warren Park in downtown Dallas, just remember what it looked like just 15 years ago and think about it today. The same is true for the Katy Trail as it runs from uptown into the park cities. There's a study that HRNA Advisors put together about 6 years ago. They found that the Katy Trail had a 1 to 50 economic return. For every dollar that was invested in that project, it generated $50 in economic impact. So when I think about where we could invest our precious city dollars, investing them in parks and trails is one of the best things the city can do if it wants to generate an economic return. So looking at the city of Dallas, we know that we have some big economic issues, if I can get the slide to advance, environmental issues, social issues, and economic issues. And I think that parks fit in the middle of this Venn diagram as an innovative solution to help address all of these challenges. So let's talk a little bit about the current state of parks in North Texas today. Trust for Public Land every year issues our annual Park Score Index report. This is a look at the 100 largest cities across the country. We look at their park systems and we rate them on a 0 to 100 scale. We look at a variety of measures, including what percentage of city land is a park, how much money does the city spend on its park system every year, and what percentage of city residents live within a 10-minute walk of a park. We're going to do a little bit of a interactive portion of today's program. So I want to get some guesses here from the audience. What percentage of Dallas residents do you think have a park or trail within a 10-minute walk of where they live? We're going to do Price is Right rules, 3 guesses. The closest without going over is going to win a very cool Trust Republic land hat. Anyone want to take a guess? Yes, sir. 30%. Just City of Dallas. 20%. 10%. Okay. So the answer is actually 73%. So this is yours. Yeah, so we're doing a little better in Dallas than y'all would think. Next question. Same prize, same rules. Get a very spiffy Trust Republic land hat. If you were to take the city park budget and divide it by the number of people in the city, so you get what is the amount of your tax dollars that goes to the park system every year, dollar per resident, what do you think that amount would be? $50. $50, okay. $100? $5, okay, $0, Bob. So it's actually $124. Who said 100? There you go. And I think this number is really interesting. I mean, think about today. How much stuff are you going to spend $124 on today? If you take a family of 4 out to a nice dinner, you're easily going to spend $124. And for that amount every year, you get access 24/7, 365 to all 400 parks in the city of Dallas. That's pretty incredible, actually. I mean, if you're going to go to Six Flags, you'd pay more for that just for 8 hours, and you have to wait in line everywhere while you're there. So parks are a pretty good deal. And I'd argue that we should all be willing to spend maybe a little bit more of our tax dollars on our park system, particularly when you consider all the benefits that it provides to our city and to our community members. So looking at the country, these are actually the top 10 cities in our park score about who leads the country with the best park systems in Dallas. And at the top is Washington, D.C. That's maybe no surprise because about a quarter of the city is dedicated to national monuments. So they've got a lot of great park system there. But number 2, St. Paul, Minnesota. And number 3, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Wouldn't have guessed. You know, those cities are pretty comparable to Dallas in many ways. People don't think of those as being very special places, but here they are leading the country in their park system. If we look at other cities in North Texas, we look at 6 cities in our park score measure in North Texas, and Plano actually leads the way. Plano is number 16 in the country. They're also the top scoring city in Texas as well. If you've spent a lot of time in Plano, they have a great park system. Some of the things they're doing really well. First off, 10% of the city's land area is dedicated to park space. So for every 1 out of 10 acres of land in the city of Plano is park. Additionally, they spend about $200 per resident on their park system. Here in Dallas, we're doing about $125. So they're doing a little better than us there. And finally, fully 78% of the city of Plano is within a 10-minute walk of a park, compared to 73% here in Dallas. Looking at the rest of the cities, you can see in the North Texas area, we kind of fall off from there. Dallas comes in at number 43 out of 100. Arlington is at 74. Garland at 87. Fort Worth at 88. And Irving at the very bottom at 99. I think a lot of the cities in North Texas are struggling really financially with how to address some of their needs in their park system and dedicating those resources to make it happen. I remember a few years ago sitting with the park department director of Irving, and we were talking about the challenges that the park department is facing. And he said, you know, every year when it gets to the budget time, parks is always at the very bottom of the list. And when the city manager says, you know, we're running tight on budget this year, we're not sure we have the money to spend on it, parks is the first thing to get cut. And so they went from being able to mow the lawns once a week to now once a month. And of course, when a citizen goes out to their park and says, gosh, the grass is so high, they can't even take care of what they have. Well, you've been cutting that budget every year for the last 10 years. So how do you expect them to be able to take care of it in the first place? It's a really self-defeating cycle, I'm afraid. And so that's why we think it's really important every year when we get around to that budget season for residents to let their city leaders know, their city council members and city management know that parks are important and it deserves to be invested in the same way that all the other city services that we rely on, whether it's police, fire, library, trash, we need to make sure parks are also being treated at the same way at the table. Just looking at some of the maps here, this is a map of the city of Washington, D.C. A little hard to see when you're so far away, but basically the whole map is green because the whole city has a park within a 10-minute walk of where everyone lives. If we look at Plano, you see some purple blobs on the map. And those purple blobs on the map are areas of the city that don't have a park or trail within a 10-minute walk of home. So you're seeing a few areas of the city that don't have that close to home park access. Something that is really unique about Plano that they did really well when the city was first being developed, in those neighborhoods, those subdivisions that we all know in Plano, the city required that developers build a neighborhood park in the middle of every single subdivision. So when you're driving around Plano, if you're living in a subdivision, you'll always have a park close to home. It's very hard to live in Plano and not have a park nearby because the city required developers when they first got started to build those parks. Dallas, which is our next city here, again, a little hard to see because the map's far away, but there's a lot more purple on the map. And part of the challenge we've seen in Dallas is that the city did not have that requirement for developers. And so during the 60s, 70s, and 80s, particularly as North Dallas was really starting to take off in development, all of that housing got built without any provision for park space. And so now you drive around neighborhoods like Preston Hollow, which is one of our most park-poor parts of Dallas, if you can believe it. Preston Hollow, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the city, also has some of the least amount of park space. That's because it all built out before the city could catch up and build parks. Now, of course, 50 years later, what do residents want? They want parks. How much does it cost, do you think, to buy an acre of land in Preston Hollow? Exactly. It's almost impossible to make it happen. So the city's had to get creative, had to think about other ways we can go about building parks, particularly in areas of town that are already built out. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what Dallas has done in that way now. So we talked earlier how 73% of the city of Dallas has a park or trail within a 10-minute walk of home, and that's really great. Only 6 years ago, in 2017, that figure was 60%. So we've had a huge improvement in that time period. And what that meant was in 2017, over 500,000 people did not have a park or trail within walking distance of their home, including 149,000 kids. I've got 2 young kids myself. We are fortunate that we have 2 great parks within a 10-minute walk of where we live. I could not imagine growing up and raising those kids without having parks nearby. And to think that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, over 149,000 kids didn't have a safe place to get outdoors and enjoy being in the park. Almost unconscionable. But the city decided they're going to get serious about this, and they did a few things. The first thing, in 2017, Mayor Mike Rawlings signed on to the Trust for Public Lands 10-minute walk to a park campaign. This is a national effort we've done where we've gone all across the country. We found 350 mayors across the country to sign on to this pledge that says, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that every resident in my city has a park or trail within a 10-minute walk of home. So Mayor Rawlings signed on in 2017. Immediately after that, the city passed a landmark bond package that Jill Jordan here had a lot to do with back when she was working for the city of Dallas. It included $311 million for parks and trails across the city. It was approved by voters with 74%, and that's a huge margin of support for getting that across the finish line. And it funded some great projects, both traditional projects like playgrounds and rec centers, but also innovative projects like this one here in far North Dallas. This is a picture of a park that was funded by that bond program. It's called Hillcrest Village. And if you can believe it, that patch of grass you see there just a few years ago was actually a parking lot in the middle of a shopping center that was failing. The shopping center had a bunch of boarded up shops. No one wanted to come lease those spaces, and the owner of the shopping center is looking for a way out. He was able to work with another developer who bought that property, put together a deal with the city, and said, what if we gave you some of this parking lot that we don't need, and the city turned it into a park? So the bond program included money to make that happen, and so the city ended up purchasing a bit of that parking lot, turning it into a park. The developer redeveloped the shopping center, and now when you're up there, every single one of those storefronts that just a few years ago were empty and boarded up are now full. Restaurants, shops, retail, everything you'd want to see in a really thriving shopping center. And it's become a great hub for that community. And it's an example of how we can be creative about expanding park access, particularly in areas that are already built out and don't have that raw land available for new parks. Another great thing that the city of Dallas did. The city, working with Texas Trees Foundation, Trust for Public Land, and Dallas Independent School District, put together a partnership to take dozens of public school campuses across the city and make those playgrounds available as park space after learning hours. So previously, at most of those playgrounds, if you are not a student of the school, you're not allowed to be there, whether it's on the weekends or after school hours. And so the city and the school district worked with the nonprofit partners to put in place a partnership that said, when school's out and on the weekends, the public can come and use these playgrounds as park space. And through that partnership, we were able to build dozens of new parks without having to buy any new land. Very cost-effective way to expand park access in areas where you don't have a lot of land available to purchase. And so since 2017, there's been huge impact. Over 294,000 people have gained access to a park within a 10-minute walk of home since 2017. And that means that Dallas went from 60% park access to 73% park access in about 5 years. One of the biggest jumps in the country, and it's a model now that a lot of other cities are looking to Dallas to say, how can we do that in our city as well? So I'm going to wrap by talking a little bit about a special project that Trust for Public Land is leading here in Dallas called the 5 Mile Creek Greenbelt. Sorry. That's okay. We'll go back. Okay. So who here knows where 5 Mile Creek is by chance? Just show of hands. Okay, great. Jill knows. Of course she knows, yes. So if you look at the city of Dallas, 5 Mile Creek is one of the creeks that runs through Oak Cliff and goes into the Trinity River. And it covers that green area on the map, sort of the bottom middle third of the city. And there's about 186,000 people that live within that area of 5 Mile Creek. And we started looking at that area and we found that although 73% of Dallas has a park or trail within a 10-minute walk of home, only 54% of this area has a park or trail within a 10-minute walk of home. We started diving in on the history, and we were shocked to find out that this was not a new idea. And in fact, 80 years ago, in 1944, the city hired Bartholomew and Associates, one of the great urban planning firms of its day, to come and create a park and trail plan for the city. And in 1944, they adopted this map. And what do you see on this map but a green belt, a network of parks and trails across 5 Mile Creek 80 years ago that never really got fully built out. Just a few days ago, I was looking through the Dallas Morning News archives. Front page news, talking about how great it was that the city adopted this new park and trail plan, how wonderful it'll be for 5 Mile Creek, and here we are 80 years later, and just only a small fraction of that plan ever got implemented. So Trust for Public Land looked at that and said, that's just not right. We need to fix that. We need to make that right. And so in 2019, we started working with the Park and Recreation Department. We took that old plan from the 40s, dusted it off, updated it for the 21st century, and said, we're going to go and take this project on and make it happen. So a few things we did. The first is that we got the new master plan adopted by the city of Dallas, and it's now an official city plan, which is great. That makes it eligible for public funding. We then went and started buying land. And my colleagues, we bought 124 acres of land in 3 different areas in southern Dallas, including 2 acres across the street from South Cliff High School, 40 acres by Paul Quinn College, and another 80 acres near I-35 and Loop 12. And now we're in the process of developing those 3 areas into new parks. The first of those parks is South Cliff Renaissance, which opened in November of 2021. This is a really beautiful park, an incredible story. If you don't know much about South Cliff High School, you know, it's one of the most storied high schools in Dallas ISD, but the neighborhood in recent years had really fallen on some hard times. A new principal came into the school and said, I want to turn this around. And he was able to improve academic performance over a 5-year period, went from an almost all failing to almost all passing school, which is incredible. Then their football team kicked it into gear, and many of you know they're back-to-back state champions now. And the principal reached out to Trust for Public Land and said, we've got this vacant lot across the street from the high school. It's a place that's overgrown with weeds, and there's a bunch of automobile parts that are piled up in the back where people have been dumping them. Sometimes people are camping out there, sleeping in tents. We've got kids who are cutting class. He said, I have a vision for my school and my community. What if we turned that into a park? And we said, well, you're talking to the right people, because that's just what Trust for Public Land does. We got engaged, and over about a 3-year period, we raised a little over $2 million. We bought that vacant lot, worked with the community to develop a community plan for what they wanted in their park, and then opened that park in 2021. This is a picture of the park. One of the features in it is a rock climbing boulder, which was something that the community specifically requested. We work with the North Face. They actually sent one of their professional climbers to come to the community to help work with the kids to design this rock climbing boulder. Just one of the many features of the park. Other things that are really unique about it, it has free public Wi-Fi. And we're down there about once a month, and I'm always seeing kids on their laptops back there at the picnic benches working on the Wi-Fi. I'm sure they're studying and not watching Netflix. I'm positive that's what's happening. And it has become just an anchor of the community that's helping to improve health, helping to bring that neighborhood together, and really provide a beautiful point of pride for that neighborhood. Additionally, like I said, we bought 40 acres by Paul Quinn College for what is soon to be opened as Judge Charles R. Rose Community Park. This is an artist rendering of that park. We're under construction right now and hope to have it open next year. And then finally, we bought 80 acres on the Woody Branch of 5 Mile Creek, which we're just about to start the design process for. So in the coming years, this park will be open to the public as a new 80-acre park for the city. With these 3 parks underway, last year we decided we wanted to turn our attention not just to the parks, but also to a trail connecting all of them. And so we started working on a master plan for a... Yeah, that's what I think about that clicker. Sorry about that. For a master plan for a trail that was going to stretch across the watershed. And it is going to be a 17-mile hike-bike trail, a lot like the White Rock Creek Trail, if you know where that is, or the North Haven Trail. And it will connect endpoints in the city's existing trail system and to provide trail access for over 185,000 people who live in the area. Go to the next slide. Here's an artist rendering of what that trail is going to look like, and it's going to be a really beautiful amenity for this neighborhood. Next slide. 17 miles of trail, 3 new parks, 186,000 people that will benefit from this. It is nothing short of a landmark, transformative investment in one of Dallas's most underinvested areas that will have huge impacts on health, on the environment, on economic outcomes as well. Next slide. You can go one more slide for me. One of the things that we did as we started looking at this was an economic impact study on this trail. And we found that this will have a 2.9 to 1 impact. So for every dollar the city spends on this trail, it'll generate about $3 in economic impact. Again, a great return on investment. We're hoping to have this project complete by 2030. And when you're working on these huge infrastructure projects that take a long time, we're in fundraising right now, about to start design process, and hope to break ground on the first segment of it in 2025, and then move through a rolling construction process and have it open by the end of the decade. One of the things I'm really proud of is the fundraising progress we've had this year. We think we need to raise about $78 million to get this project done. And in the last year alone, thanks to our private philanthropic partners and thanks to public funding, we've now secured $28 million in a year. It's incredible progress for a huge project. We still have a long ways to go. We're looking at funding in the next city bond program. We have a number of federal grants out, and we're also raising private philanthropic gifts and bringing as many people as we can to help make this project a reality. And of course, community is at the center of everything that we do. And so a big piece of this is a community committee composed of members of the neighborhood who are overseeing the whole process to make sure that everything we're doing is responsive to community needs and meets community needs as well. I'm going to wrap up my presentation with just a quick story about why this project's so important. Earlier this year, we were doing a tour of the trail with a reporter from the Dallas Morning News. And we were standing right there, actually, where that photo is, underneath a railroad trestle where the trail is going to go by. And we looked down the road, and we saw a family walking down the road. This is Coombs Creek Drive. The road is not even as wide as this room is. There's no sidewalk. There's not even a dividing line down the middle of it, and it's twisting and turning through the forest like this blind turns. And we see this family walking down, a mom, a dad, a stroller, 2 kids. Looked like my family, actually. Those kids were the same age as my kids. And I couldn't believe that this is how they were having to walk through their own neighborhood, dodging traffic, no safe place to walk. We stopped and talked to them, learned they were the Hernandez family, and guess where they were going? To the grocery store. This was their option for getting to the grocery store to go take care of the most mundane and basic of family tasks, shopping for food every week. And they were having to walk down a busy road without even a sidewalk. And what's so shocking is that this is exactly where that trail plan from 80 years ago said a trail should be. The Hernandez family can't wait another 80 years for this trail to happen. They can't wait another 10 years. They need this trail now. They needed it on that day in January. And that's what motivates myself and my colleagues every day to get up, come into the office, and make this happen for the Hernandez family and other families like that across Dallas. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions, and thank you for your attention. How much time do we have? Okay, great.
How can I feel secure going into the park?
How can you feel secure going into the park? That is a great question. Safety and security is one of the top things we always hear from community members. So we take that very seriously. A few things we do. The first is all of our parks have security cameras, so we can make sure that we're always keeping an eye on anything that might happen. Additionally, lighting. All of our parks have solar-powered lights that come on automatically when it gets dark, so people feel safe when they're there. We incorporate safety and environmental design. We work with Dallas Police Department through that design process, so they can review the designs and say, yeah, this looks like this will be safe. Of course, we can never guarantee safety. There's always a risk no matter where you go, but taking all the steps that we can to help address those safety issues and make it as safe as possible.
Robert,
Yes, sir.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. As you know, trees and vegetation are the best carbon capture mechanism we have. What do y'all do to ensure that you preserve all the plants and the trees and just don't clear cut it? And what can we also do to convince our city council member to zone out certain green space in our community?
Yeah, asking about the importance of trees and what we do there. A few things. So when we're working through the design process, we really pride ourselves on focusing on native, sustainable vegetation and landscape design. So that means planting native species. If we do have to cut down a tree, we're always planting more trees to make up for that. We also have a lot of tree planting initiatives through our work at both Charles Rose Park and again at South Cliff Renaissance Park. In the lead up to getting those parks underway, we worked in the neighborhoods around there to plant trees in the medians coming into the park, with the idea being that we want people to walk to the park and you need a shady place to walk. So let's plant trees along the sidewalks. And we planted several thousand trees at this point all across southern Dallas as a part of that. In terms of convincing city council members, I mean, the best thing to do is pick up the phone and call. I think you'll find an email or a phone call that sometimes actually gets answered, and letting them know I'm a voter and this is something that matters to me. And that's how you have to have your voice heard. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Robert, thanks for being here. Really informative. I've never heard of the Trust for Public Land, so you need a better PR team. You need to get the word out. But it's a national organization, and you are representing the Dallas office or the Texas office? And also, how are you funded?
So we are a national nonprofit organization. I run our Texas office. Most of our work is here in Dallas right now, though we are doing some work statewide as well. We are funded primarily philanthropically. So we have some very wonderful donors and philanthropic partners who have supported our work in Dallas and in Texas and across the country. We're getting pretty good at using public money to help pay for capital. So if we need to buy a piece of land, we can usually get public money to make that happen. But it's harder to get that public money to pay for, staff salaries and laptops and keeping the lights on in the office, et cetera. And that's where our philanthropic partners come in hand. And if I had a hat, I guess I would pass it right now. But if you are so motivated, I would love to visit with anyone afterwards about how they could be a partner in helping make our work happen.
Robert,
Dan.
don't know if you know the answer to this, but on the Dallas, the park score, Park Cities was grayed out. If they were added back in, do they help or hurt?
Yeah, the Park Cities has a great park system, both University Park and Highland Park. I don't know the stats off the top of my head. I think they're close to 100%. So it would definitely help Dallas's figure overall, but that's why we pull it out, because we really want to focus on each individual city and what they can do.
Have you looked at, now all of these parks, we've seen them in this area, how they just rejuvenate the area around it, and that's a major city. Have you looked at smaller towns where maybe like a Walmart and all the big box stores have come in and the downtown has died, at doing like a similar project with the park in a small town to try to rejuvenate the downtown?
I think that's a huge growth opportunity for us. It comes down to getting the right people in place to do that type of work. So we're fortunate in having an awesome team here in Dallas. And what that means is so much of our attention is focused in Dallas, it's harder for us to look further afield. But it's been in the back of my mind, there's so many little cities all across Texas that could benefit from this type of work as well. So if you have any leads, again, you can find me after we can talk.
Robert, appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Today.
Wonderful to be here. Thanks.
And in honor of your speaking today, a book will be presented at Ms. Shane Elementary in your honor.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. We get a picture? Is it Lee? We get a picture? I have one question. What is the total mile distance of all the trails once they're truly interconnected?
It'll be over 160 miles.
That's awesome.
Which is awesome.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
so much.
So next Friday, Steve Laddick will be speaking on U.S. sports immigration policy. I'll be the chair of the day that day. And now the four-way test. Lee?
Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? This meeting is adjourned. First day I was president, I stood up here and I knocked a piece of this thing off. It flew off at the end of and I thought, oh no, this is not the start.
Not a good omen.
If y'all want to become members, feel free. We have a great group. Do a lot of good things. Hey, does your law firm do anything in intellectual property or venture capital work, biomedical stuff?
If it was a breach of contract, sure. If it's high-level intellectual property patent work, we're not specialists.
Yeah.
I mean, I can find lawyers.
Yeah, it's hard to find it here in Dallas. Yeah. And I'm trying to find more work for myself. I may have to reach out to someone in the Bay Area or something to do more. But we have a small group here. I'm just asking.